This is my first time doing this. I was born in Hermiston, Oregon, as a result of an affair. I never felt like I was wanted. I felt like, as I entered this world, I destroyed my dad's family. So my whole life I strived for harmony, belonging, and love. All I wanted was to be accepted. My parents loved me, but were very busy with their restaurant business. That restaurant business felt like it was more important than me. The words, "I don't have time for you, Becky," and "You just don't understand, Becky," were driven into my soul. I know my parents loved me, but they were both broken as children, coming from broken homes. They did the best they could do with what they had. They had lavished me with trips and expensive gifts. But this never met the needs of my soul for unconditional love and acceptance. As I grew into an adult, I continued to search for the emptiness to be filled. The easy route was to look for someone who was more broken than me. This led to a life filled with negative choices. These life choices led to a dysfunctional relationships and separation from my family. Depression and substance abuse mixed with antidepressants left me empty. Not finding what I was looking for led to a deeply frustrated life, which led to anger and violence, which led to being guilt-ridden for all that had happened and all that I had done. After driving and pushing away the people that loved me, I found myself overwhelmed with responsibilities and knowing the choices were having a horrible effect on my children. They told me they hated their lives. I ended up at the end of my rope and wanting to quit life. I called out to God and heard him say, "You don't have an option to end your life." I finally reached out to my sister, hoping she'd be willing to forgive me. God had led me to her. He had told me to let it all fall apart, to give in, and don't cling on to the home in this broken life any longer. I realized if I didn't let go of the life I had, I wouldn't make it, and neither would my children. I just had to follow God's leading and trust him. I have a hard time continuing to let go, but I'm blessed every time I give more and more control over to God. This is where I found Hannah's house. My sister said she would take my son, Luke, for a year, and I brought my daughter Leah with me. At our home for this year, I have found that life is much brighter with the structure God has provided. While at Hannah's house, I am finding a sense of relief and not living my life in fear. When I first thought about a rehab, I imagined a place where I would go and learn about how to get over addictions, talking about drugs and how sad our lives were. But a few days at Hannah's house, I began to think about it as a healing center. Teen Challenge gives you a year of protection from the world's demands and confusion. And by thinking about it as a rehab or a program is really taking God out of the picture. I'm able to just put Jesus in the center of my soul and allow him to heal me from the inside out. God is here with me and has his arms wrapped around me and my kids, and I am able to breathe and sleep with a feeling of safety. The staff here is always a great source of guidance that I can never find elsewhere. They have taught me that Jesus is my Savior, and my life of depression is forgiven. I have learned that the bad things I have gone through are just a way for God to bring me closer to him. My sins are forgiven. I have also learned to forgive others first, without questions, to love always, and to be like Christ. I am anxious to find more ways to grow and make my life full of the Lord's ways. My striving and my desires were wasted energy. All I needed to do was stop and accept that Jesus constantly was striving to show me his love, and that he died for me so that I could belong to him and be part of his family. I finally understand when we look at people for love and acceptance, we will be disappointed every time. But God's unconditional love turns us into someone who can love and accept others as I've always wanted to accept myself. Isaiah 61, 1-3. The sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom from the captives, and release from darkness the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and a day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord, for the display of his splendor.